Hello, guys, and it's Xill and I with Zero Fox Coffee and Games, Couch Talks. Today, I wanted to share with you another D&D build, Pathfinder D&D. So technically not D&D at all, but whatever. Tabletop role-playing game build that I call the Monkadin. It's basically a monk that's taken some levels of Paladin, and we're just going to go through the build here with you today. So, we don't use any homebrew or
third-party content.
Yeah, I don't think there's any third-party content in either. I'd have to double-check that, but pretty sure there's not. At least, if there is, it's well-balanced third-party content, in my opinion.
If you built it on Path Builder, I'm pretty sure that's all Paizo.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, the build summary is basically we do 18 levels of Monk and 2 levels of Paladin. I usually start as a Monk and then dip into Paladin for 2 levels and then go back into Monk. Really, the order you take it doesn't super matter unless you want to be viable by roughly level 3. Then you want to go Monk, Paladin, Paladin. Has been the best combo that I've found for that, personally. So, this build relies on controlling the battlefield. And its mobility to wear enemies down. It doesn't really deal a lot of damage. It can deal quite a bit of damage, but you're looking to hit everybody on the field as often as possible when they think about moving towards one of your allies or towards you, or when you attack them, you're going to use flurry blows to just pump out as many hits as you can. You're not going to deal big numbers, but you're going to deal a lot of small numbers. The strengths of this weakness, you're going to have some insane, absolutely bonker saves. It is basically a witch hunter build. Mm-hmm. So, it's wizards, witches, sorcerers. Those guys are going to have a lot of trouble with this build, trying to prevent it from getting to them. You have a lot of mobility because you're a monk. You have that bonus to movement. You have acrobatics as a class skill, and you can use it to avoid attacks of opportunity and all that stuff. And you can actually use Flurry to, as long as it's an attack action, you can use Flurry to disarm or trip. I think Sunder isn't technically an attack action. You can use it as part of your Flurry. I'd have to double check that again, but pretty sure it qualifies.
Okay.
Possible weaknesses. I mean, you've seen this build in play a couple times.
Yeah. Whenever you have a character who's dealing a lot of small hits, anything with DR is a problem for you.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
you should get the amulet, and I think Monk and Pathfinder gets a class ability to help with that.
Yeah, so you can spend key to, change your fist to, cold iron, and if there's a list of 5 or 6 other ones.
Yeah, but unless it's DR of, plain physical damage, that's going to be a problem. Especially DR dash, you just can't get around.
Yeah.
And you don't have the damage to just deal with it.
Yeah. Also, the monk in general has an AC plateau, in my experience of playing it. You have really good AC to start with. In the first, I would say, 4 to 5 levels, your AC is on point and wonderful. And then you get to level 6, and from level 6 to level 13 or so, you just have this stagnant AC. Because you have to try to afford, in order to increase it at the same rate as everybody else in the party, you have to throw down your money on more expensive magic gear, such as Rings of Deflection, Amulets of Armor, which if you took the Amulet of Mighty Fist, you can't use anyway, Bracers of Armor, all that stuff, which is much more expensive than many of the other armor alternatives that the classes have available to them. All right, so the races for this build, this particular build that I'm telling you guys about today, is built using the human. We use the human for the extra feet in this case. Call it cheesy, call it what you want. That extra feet on the human is just, they really shouldn't have given the human an extra feet. They should have thought of something else, honestly. But it's built using that extra feat to become viable by level 3 or 4, latest 5 if you make some different choices, and that way you can be a presence on the battlefield and be an actual tank, unlike most other tanks like the fighter or the barbarian who just has a lot of health. We seek to control the battlefield, so we want to get improved trip online, which means we need combat expertise and all that stuff. So human isn't necessary, but it's going to slow you down by 1 feat track, and you will end up losing. I would say the only feat that you could really feasibly lose is wrist grab at the end of the build, which, since you're probably not going to see level 20 anyway, it's not that big of a deal. In most campaigns anyway. Just facts. Statistics. So level 1, you're going to take level monk. We went with the normal monk, not the unchained monk. We do the Scaled Fist monk and the Four Winds monk of the Four Winds. The class features you're going to get from this, of course, are going to be Flurry Blows, your AC bonus from, normally it's from Wisdom, but the Scaled Fist, because of Draconic Might, changes it to Charisma. We also replace, from Four Winds, we replace Stunning Palm with Elemental Fist for a little bit extra damage now and again. We don't really super care about the extra elemental damage right now. We mostly want this for level like 15 and onwards is where Four Winds really starts helping us out. I didn't use any traits in this build. I'm sure there's some great traits that would actually go amazingly with this build. So really just, bonus spots. The feats, you're going to want that improved trip, which means you have to have combat expertise, and you get combat reflexes from a bonus feat of the monk, all at level 1. So if you do a human, monk, 3 feats, and you already have a terrifying build just right there, level 1. Pretty awesome.
Oh, one of them's the really specific feat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the monk has that short list of like 5 feats they can have. One of them happens to be combat reflexes, which fits the bill perfectly. So, our second level, we're going to move right into Paladin. Our Paladin, we have Divine Grace. Let's add our Charisma bonus to our saves. So we get to add a whole nother bonus to all 3 of our saves, which is pretty awesome. At level 3, we also take the Weapon Proficiency Exotic Double Chain Comma. This is because it's both a monk weapon, has reach, and has pretty good overall damage and crit range as well, coming in at 1d6 and all that stuff.
Enlightened, is that a...
Oh, yes. So I did totally skip that. Thank you. See, this is why I have the boss around. The Paladin of Enlightened Paladin is what the archetype's going to be, and this is actually Enlightened Paladin is really interesting because it has Confident Defense, which lets us add up to the Paladin's level our Intelligence modifier. So we actually squeak a little bit more, our Intelligence modifier to AC. So we squeak a little bit more AC out of the class build from there. The Unarmed Strike technically stacks with the monks at half the rate, if I recall correctly. And it gets Personal Trial, which replaces Smite. Works pretty similarly, but it's a little bit different. So make sure you look into that. I'm not going to go into super specifics, but that's what we get from level 2 and 3 Paladin. All right, and then so after 3 at level 4, we're going to switch over back to monk, and we're going to stick with monk for the rest of the build. Our class features that we get from going into level 4 are going to be evasion, and then into level 5 we get our fast movement, Draconic Metal, and Draconic Fury. Draconic Metal is awesome because this build really needs it. It adds +2 bonus to saving throws against fear, paralysis, and sleep effects.
Just in case you somehow were gonna fail by about 2.
Yeah. Yep. Then Draconic Fury allows you to you gain some control over your Draconic element. You get to pick it, and you get to use a key point to add that to your natural attacks, which is pretty awesome. We get the Dragon Style feat on the Monk bonus feat this level as well, or these levels. So while using this style, you gain a +2 bonus on saving throws against sleep effects, paralysis, and stuns. It's because we were running short on
bonuses
bonuses
towards that thing?
towards our saves. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really getting sketchy. It also allows you to ignore difficult terrain when you're charging, running, or withdrawing, which is extremely powerful. Like, totally bonkers. And you can add 1.5 times your strength on your first unarmed strike for the turn, which is also quite strong. Yeah. Then moving on up to level 6. On to level 6, I say. Excellent. So at level 6, we get the class features Slow Fall and our Key Pool, which is only 2 levels late because we took 2 levels in Paladin. But Key Pool innately just has a whole bunch of skills or things it can let you do, like boost or change your damage type and give yourself +4 to dodge bonus for 1 round. A few other things that it can do. It's all right there in the Key Pool skill. I always forget it comes with its own default skills that it gives you, so do keep an eye on those because they're pretty handy actually. We also get the Ascetic Style feat, which is extremely important. This feat really is the next part where this build gets itself pulled together. Ascetic Style allows you to use any ability that can only be used unarmed with a monk weapon, like, period. Like, it doesn't say, like the Dragon Style says it has to be an unarmed thing. Ascetic Style changes that so it can be used through the weapon, which is really, really good. At level 7, we get Purity of Body because we were worried about maybe potentially not having immunity to all diseases and failing a save. So just in case we were to somehow magically fail a save, we have immunity to...
This way, if you have the kind of DM who, when they don't like what you're doing, just starts throwing things at you that have DC 50, you still can't fail.
Yep. We also get Wholeness of Body at level 9, which allows us to heal. So this is going to be our second heal that we actually get because we have Lay on Hands from Paladin. So this helps the build a lot because you're not going to, like we said before, you're probably not going to be dealing tons of damage. So this gives you some sustainability in the middle of the fight, and you don't have to worry about where the cleric is as much, because if there even is a cleric, because you have a couple different heals for yourself. We also, at level 8, get Dragon Ferocity as the monk for a monk bonus feat. This feat is also super amazing. It's a chain as part of the previous dragon feat. It lets us add our strength in half to all of our attacks now. So our damage is really starting to, catch up to everybody else at this point. Maybe not the wizard, who's built to have the fireball of fireballs that ends all fireballs because fireball, but, we feel good. And we get Greater Trip at level 9. Greater Trip is, if you've ever had a build that did a trip situation, you know what Greater Trip does, but it is insanely obnoxious because anytime you trip an enemy, they provoke an attack of opportunity from anybody that's threatening them, which is awesome because that means you basically get a free attack on them. It also means that anybody around them gets a free attack on them. Sad days for them. All right, so moving on into level 10 through 14. Well, level 10 is extremely boring. You get to level 10. Congratulations. You've made it halfway through to level 20.
Number of digits in your character level has increased by 1.
Yep. But moving right on to level 11, you get improved evasion. So even if you fail that reflex, if you succeed that reflex save, you take no damage, and if you fail, you take half damage, which is pretty awesome. Just in case your save couldn't save you you must have rolled a 3. Anyway, you also get improved disarm to give yourself some more flexibility. At this point, I'm sure you're tired of tripping people only, so now you can also take away their means to hurt you. Diamond Body gives you immunity to poisons, so now you're immune to all diseases and poisons, just on top of having obnoxious saves. Except for like magical poisons and magical diseases. I think those are technically classified differently. At level 12, you got the mobility monk bonus feat, which I chose mobility for this build because later on we get, oh gosh, what's the next part? Oh no, I've forgotten. I'll get to it when I get there. But anyway, mobility gives you +4 on when you get attacked from an attack of opportunity to your AC, which is pretty nice.
Spring attack?
Spring attack, yes. Thank you. And it goes right into spring attack, so we can get spring attack coming down the turnpike, which is a great little feat in its own right. We also get combat patrol in this set of levels at level 13. Combat patrol is really awesome because for every 4 BAB you have, your area that you threaten increases by 1 square, or 5 feet. So the monk gets a total of 15 BAB, which means you increase your threat range by 3 squares. On top of the 2 squares from the double chain comma, you're looking at 5 squares of threat. So you can really just post yourself up in a hallway and make sure that nobody gets by you for a while. Just kind of a fun little thing to do. And you get slow time, which is insanely strong. You can spend 6 key points to gain 3 general actions. And you spend them as a free action, I believe. I'd have to double check that, but it's basically free to spend the points, and you get slow time, which gives you 3 general actions. You can attack on each action, you can move, or you can do one other thing. But basically, you can use them however you want. You just can't combine them, if I recall correctly. And then the final range, that last set, 15, 16, 18, 19, and 20. If you've gotten here, awesome. I'm really happy your campaign has lasted this long, and I hope this last portion of the build is worth it because there's some pretty crazy stuff that happens here. You get Diamond Soul, which gives you, not DR, it gives you magic resistance, 10 plus your monk level, which is, in case your saves or some of your immunities didn't work, now you have spell resistance because that's what you needed. You get Draconic Breath at level 15, which gives you a breath weapon, which is super fun and neat. You also are going to get a power attack. Power attack scales extremely well, and on top of can be used with the dragon style. So now you're going to, instead of adding 1.5 your strength modifier, you're going to add twice your strength modifier to each individual flurry attack, punch, or slice, depending on how you attack. At level 16, you're going to get Spring Attack, which we just mentioned a moment ago. Spring Attack lets you move, hit, and move, which can be extremely nice, especially in a class that has so much movement at their disposal. And at level 17, I decided to take Improved Sunder with the build, just to really round out what things you can do. You can use it as part of your flurry, I'm fairly certain, and it's a fun little thing. You could definitely replace it with something else if you have a different idea or a better thing that you'd rather do with that feat, but I like to destroy people's stuff before they know what's happening. Level 19, we're going to get the Tongue of Sun and Moon, which is just a fun little, I can talk to anything that has a language effectively and more. And then the feat we're going to get is Wrist Grab. Wrist Grab allows you to make a disarm attempt if they miss you by 5 or more, which is kind of a fun, because a lot of times if you miss, you whiff because the numbers are so large here. And so, I don't know, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
You also get Dragon Roar at level 20, which is another breath weapon, but the highlight of this section is Aspect Master. You get that at level 19. Aspect Master allows you to take one of 4, 5, I think it might be 6 actually, different aspects, but you can only have one. The one that we're interested in here is the aspect of the tiger, because you can move, or you can charge 10 times your charge, which, since you're a monk that moves 80 feet, you can charge 800 feet. That archer over there that's sniping you, no longer. No longer, my friends.
You also get to pounce at the end of that, which means that you can make a full attack action.
Which means you can flurry.
Okay.
Run 800 feet and flurry. Also, because you're in Dragon style, and it is the only style feat we have, so there's no reason not to be in it, you ignore difficult terrain. So even if they're up a steep hill or over a field of really loose sand or whatever, you charge over it. You just don't care. You just don't care. So yeah, that's pretty much the build. And a quick rundown for y'all. But here's our summary and thoughts. Level 3 is the first spot that I really aim to make this build viable. You have fairly decent all-around stats, but it's all about the field control at this point. You're just controlling the field. You're tripping enemies. Most enemies at that level are humanoid of one kind or another. So, you're just being the tank and making sure that the enemy stays unhappy. I mean, that's the whole idea of level 3 is just your payload came in the batch of feats you got, basically, and you have this nice new fancy reach weapon. But the next spot that we kind of get a power spike here is like level 5 and level 6. Our AC at level 5, it turns into 24 because of our bonuses from charisma and our bonuses from intelligence. Also, at this point, you've been able to afford some gear. I went ahead and threw like bracers of armor and a ring of protection and a monk's robe. Probably a little more than a level 5 character might have, but it's still relatively basic gear. So it just kind of depends on your DM. If you're going for a poor setting, or if your DM is classically known for being really stingy with the gold, but the campaigns don't usually last past like level 6, then you're probably doing just fine.
Yeah. And if you ever use a monk build in a campaign that you know is going to be really low currency, it's worth considering Vow of Poverty.
Yeah.
Because you get 6 items of value. One of them can be something besides food, water, clothes, shelter. And there's a chance he'll be stuck with that anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I also included the level 10 summary on the slide, since that's the level where most classes power spike, or classically the power spike in the game is. It's not super overwhelming, though you will notice that all of these stat blocks have something in common, and that is their saves are insanely high. That is partially because of the multi-class, but also because we're adding our charisma to all our saves. And really, we're spending all of our attribute points on charisma pretty much, because there's no reason not to, because it helps the build so much. It gives us more key points, it gives us more armor, it gives us more saves. Like, it's just, there's no reason not to do it. So I also included here the level 20 summary. I kind of put the dream item list together here. I know there's probably better items, more flexible items. I just kind of grabbed the ones that would really maximize some of the numbers that I find really amusing in the build, such as my saves, which are all now 31, 29, and 30, which I've seen epic monsters that have their base saves are like 29, 28, 30, so you can roll a 2 and beat most of their epic attacks where they turn you into a lich or something insane.
Yeah, no, if you're doing a Cthulhu campaign, you should actually just roll this.
Yeah.
And watch your DM be astounded when you succeed like a DC 50 will save to not kill all your friends.
Well, yeah, and also do remember that you get a +4 from class features and feats if you're in your dragon stance versus fear, on top of what your will save here. So it's a will save of 34 versus fear. Yeah. Your AC as a monk is 45 with, the bracers of armor maxed out, the ring of pro maxed out, and the headband of mental superiority +6 to get your charisma pumped up, and your dex and the monk robes and all that jazz. You can hit an AC of 45. You could probably swing that around a little bit depending on the DM and the items that you have available to you. This also includes the Amulet of Natural Armor. Yeah. Though I would suggest looking into an Amulet of Mighty Fist, because that bonus, the magic bonus to your fists can be kind of nice. Although this build over other monks doesn't rely on that particular animate quite as much because we have the double chain commas, which we would also be boosting. But and so that leaves us room for the natural armor. Yeah, this build, our CMD is also 53, CMB of 20, which isn't super fantastic, but you have to remember that if we're making a flurry attack, we're not actually using that CMB because that uses the base attack bonus of the monk. When we make any attack as a flurry, we're using the monk level as our basic attack bonus, which means that if you make a trip attack as part of a flurry, that's going to go up by 5 without including the trip bonus that you get from the feats and the magical item bonus you have from your magic item in theory. That's pretty much the build, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to upload these slides up onto the Patreon, and so if you want to check that out, go over there, get subscribed, help us out so we can make more videos like this. And don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button down below this video as well. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm and helps us out because we love making these videos. It's been fun so far, and we hope to continue, and we hope to keep improving for y'all. Have a magical day.